One Great Conversation, a place where we strive to become whole and complete personally and professionally by bringing great minds together and giving you, the listener, the authentic conversation you crave. One great guest at a time. Welcome back to One Great Conversation. For anyone who might not already know me, my name is Alma and I'm the podcast host here. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Lauxes Grates. This next episode is slightly different to what we normally release and will feature two CEOs talking to each other about what the next year will look like within their businesses. These two CEOs are Tim Dawson from Lauxes Grates and Steve Mitchell from the Titans Gold Coast NRL team. The energy between these two is electric and they share amazing values and are very aligned in how they do business. We hope you enjoy. If you guys just want to chat about what's going on in the next 12 months at Titans and at Lauxes. So
yeah.
Talk to each other like mates about what's...
We are mates.
Yeah.
We don't have to pretend.
You don't have to pretend. So
Right. As mates. Who leads this?
And you had some questions to fire? Oh, just what the next 12 months?
just next 12 months.
Yeah, cool. All right.
I'm intrigued to know because you've been talking about your global outlook and where that sits now. It's consolidated. What's coming? What's over the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, since I've seen you last, as I mentioned before, that the global focus, is to take an Australian business or a Gold Coast-based business right around the world. We've got some of the best product in the world, so we want to make sure the world knows about it. So the last 12 months, setting up frantically over in the US to position ourselves with stock, people, wholesalers, ensuring that arm of the business. So, essentially through the US is one arm, Australia is another arm of the product, and now also moving product through South Africa, through Taiwan, and a few other opportunities that have come up. Also, even in the technically the OEM space. So the OEM space is manufacturing product for other people's brand. Oh, right. So relabeling it for them under large orders. So we've got some opportunity around there to consider and look at, which could generate some really good income to keep supporting the ideas of more community involvement. Certainly leads to the convo of even with why we set out to sponsor the Titans. It's just putting back into the Gold Coast community, like you guys putting back into the community through all the things you guys do. So where we got that synergy in the first place, wasn't it?
It's always really amazed me about your business, and you particularly as the leader of that business, is your foresight, your vision and your drive, mate. It's always been, since the first time we met, and your outlook for your organisation, your product and where you're going to go, you're never not thinking forward. And you've always had a big plan, like you've always... and believed in it and worked to it, which is then got a value set that sat beside it and then behaviours that sit beside that value set. So for me personally, it's wonderful to watch, and you just seem to every year jump and go again. It's fascinating. You should be very proud, I think.
Yeah, I am proud for sure. It's a labour of love, and I love doing it. And I've always said to everyone to hold me accountable for the parts when I don't love it anymore, and that's when I'll change my mindset. But as we continue to grow and we look for more opportunities and people are rising to those challenges, we're resetting some of the conversations, what global looks like versus what it looked like your position previously just in Australia. It is a smaller mindset, and now we look outwards globally, and it can be quite polarizing. It's like, shit, where do we start? How do we go here? Where do we go? What we do? It's bringing that clarity to everyone, not only with the team in Australia, because we worked hard to build that up, and we continue to work to increase that market as well. But that's not the full reach of our market. We truly believe with this product, we can change lives right around the world. It's
amazing for us because we talk about it being a Gold Coast organisation that reaches out nationally and internationally through, obviously, into the likes of the Pacific and into New Zealand. So we're aligned in that way. And, we have this audience which is enormous. We've got a great, very sticky, big base in the southeast Queensland area, particularly home, between Logan and Lismore. But 65% of our television viewing audience sort of sits New South Wales through the lower parts, and then a big chunk in Queensland. But you've captured the Nationals, and then you've moved again, which is for us, out of our stable of partners, you're a real standout in that space, which is and it's early days, I suppose, to some degree. Early days, being 6 years in, but
absolutely.
I'm fascinated to watch the journey over the next 3 years, 5 years, 6 years for you.
Yeah, me too.
You obviously grow as you go, like both personally and from a business point
absolutely.
Of view. Yeah.
And I think everyone within the business as well. So that space, we understand that that's part of life. That's all part of the journey for us as well within Lauxes, that there is that growing phase. some of the things that I probably didn't mention to you, we hit large adversity last year, with different copycats, people trying to imitate what we do. The change with global, a bit of confusion, or what are you, this person's not doing that anymore. They're not doing Australian stuff when they should be doing global stuff. New appointed people in positions. Even with the adversity you guys faced last year, one of the conversations that you had, you had press media in your face about some of the changes that you made last year. I really did take a personal leaf out of your book for the tenacity, the authentic behavior you had, and the comments that you made through some of those press conferences really impressed me, Steve. And I remember texting you going, "Hey, mate, that was an epic job." And I look for things like that where I'm feeding off that energy, because that took some real brass clangers, I think, to be able to do what you did and cop whatever you had to cop, and knowing that this is what our promise was. You made that promise. I sat there many years ago when we first pitched to me about what Titans are about and where they're going and what they were doing. And same thing, you've led the charge. You've made sure that you meet the milestones when they had to be met, and you've done it with as much grace as you possibly can. And it just takes a solid human being to be able to do so, And I know from my driving seat, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Firstly, I appreciate that text message, because it was great support at a time. It was pretty challenging, and change management, particularly in that space, with someone, the coach at the time, he's a really good guy. He's really good family. Beautiful people. We are on a promise, and we're here to deliver an outcome. And it's important to have as much dignity as you can through the care of people. But then also we have a responsibility in regard to what we deliver from a level of excellence. And the Gold Coast, and our supporters and our fans, we've made a commitment, and we have to deliver it. And sometimes that's a matter of actually looking, reflecting a little bit about where you're at, and then making some calls that aren't always necessarily great fun, but it's about moving us forward. And I think I think we're heading in that direction. I genuinely know we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's what I took out of it. That there's some tough conversations that need to be had. And again, nothing wrong with it. It just, we need to move it, and that's adding your own adversity into it, right? You added your own adversity into the business interjection at that time of the year when it's like, hang on, it's not the end of season, which generally stereotypical. It always happens towards that break, right? And that's when people are making those changes. So I just want to acknowledge that happened midway through while it's flying. If that makes sense. Like this business, like while we're still operating at a high level in Australia, we're then recalibrating what's happening globally, what's happening in the US while it's flying. So it's building something while it's in flight, and making changes, which can be polarizing both ways, right? You said you're going to bring energy, is one of the values of Titans is to bring that energy, but it can bring positive and negative. It's like, oh shit, I didn't think about the negative energy this could bring. But let's really ride the positive energy train, because it has brought hope. It's brought light. It's brought guys that anyone was potentially mucking around, or they're not hanging around anymore. Like, it's brought a real seriousness, what I've seen, but I'm sure you can sort of touch on that, like how you've just taken another cog. It's taken forward another cog now. And this is all pre-season, obviously.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's about being purpose-driven and understanding what that is and what that means, and then being true to that and honest to it. So part of it's obviously our communities and our delivery to communities, making them proud, and then inspiring through energy. Energy is important to us on field, off field, in regard to the way the business interacts with all of its stakeholders and our fan base, and obviously our partners, and and our schools and PDRL participants and all the kids that play the game, and that is really, really important. At the back of that is uniting them through success. Yeah. And at a point in time, you have to look at the way you're going and be honest, and say, look, we're not there, and then take a break, and then that's your responsibility. That we all own that, we all own that, and we all need to address that, fix that, and you're committed to it, or me included, and I should move. So ultimately, you're not going to achieve what you need to achieve unless you're actually true to that. So
for sure, what
the outcome of that has been, for a fairly tough time, is an organisation, I think, in a play group that now. Absolutely understand what their promise is to the community, but they're also probably in an environment that they haven't experienced for some time, which is high levels of clarity. We spoke about clarity before. High
Sure.
levels of IP, and not like huge workloads. Which, but for them, is making them probably got them to a point where they are achieving things they might not have achieved before physically. But then there's also a broader level of IP and education to them that I don't think that many of them had the opportunity to experience. So it's a really exciting outcome, and because we had to make a decision to make change. You need to be diligent through that process, and then you've got to you bring it to life, and you've got to be accountable for it as well. So no one loses a pre-season, to your point, but the signs are very strong. I usually get out and get really excited about the year ahead, but I've pretty quietly spoken about this one because I'm looking forward to what this materialises in, because what I've seen in the field, the player group, and what I'm hearing from a development point of view is really encouraging.
Sure. And I think, from an optimistic point of view, it's not, we're not overselling it. It's not letting everyone know that these changes are going to make the change, because we don't know yet. But you're looking at what actions you're taking to make sure that there is a drive, tapping into potential that these guys have never had that experience yet. And because of that experience, we don't know what they can bring. So that's what's got me invested in the whole organisation, is because you're relentless around the untapping whatever potential these guys have, through every and doing it. It's not just to mention, look, we're looking to unlock the talent that these young fellas have, no, you're actually doing it. Like, you're doing it and you're giving them the absolute every opportunity possible to make sure that happens.
It's really interesting when you run hard, people will follow or jump on board, and now that environment's being mentored or led by someone who has enormous energy and an enormous commitment to work, and enormous work ethic, and an enormous amount of passion about the sport, and it self-infuses. So you end up with a bunch of people who are committed to a cause but are exhausted, but are still that excited about the fact that, one, they're learning, two, they're engaged, and three, they're all aligned in thinking, and you build up this level of momentum. Honestly, will come in the next few weeks when we get into the start of the season, and as we get into the washing machine through the grind of the season, the sustainability will be the next piece. The athletes have all come on physically, they've certainly come on technically. They understand a lot more, around what they're trying to do as a group. But I think the mindset piece is going to be really interesting. See where they're at, because they've grown. They're all a year older as well. So there's a level of maturity in there. Physically, they're all bigger and stronger, fitter, which is nice. That's all. They're all easy top line words, but I think there's a mindset change there too, which is, I think all businesses go through that with a little bit of, and human beings through a bit of a maturation process. So I can't wait to see where we're at by the origin period. Just see what the first half of the season looks like.
And what they do with it when they're successful, which is it was a really interesting piece, is, given that there hasn't been as much success in the past compared to, hey, if all of a sudden we do get a good run on, and you put some really good points on, and you're in the top four, majority of the year, then all of a sudden that changes the whole dynamic. It's like, how do we sustain this? How do we continue to do here? It's a whole different level that they've never played at before. All right, no one's chased them down because they always feel, going most games or most things. It's not. It's okay. We can. They're sort of already. They play the game knowing that most teams think they know what to expect. Where all of a sudden you've tapped into something that's potentially there, and that's where the extra excitement comes from. And I'm sure the Legion's thinking that this year. That's all our ducks have lined up. This is good. This is good. This is good. This is good. And it just brings that extra energy and excitement to the football, and that's ultimately what you need, right? You need people champion it. You need the support there. Without the support, without people champion it, it's just a bunch of blokes running around playing football. But oh geez, I can't wait to see that grow. I just look forward to home crowds. Towards the end of the year, when you've got quite a few wins up the sleeve, giving a top 8 a really, really good nudge. If not, cement yourself or cement your place in that. So that visualization for me, how it's going to go this year. Whether it goes that way or not, there's definitely a manifestation of what I feel will happen, and I'm sure you've done sort of your own visualizations.
Yeah, we had a big year last year with game day crowds. It was quite extraordinary. It was the biggest we'd had since 2010, and I think that was on the back of potential, the promise of potential. For sure. And we still finished 14th. So bloke who's leading us at the moment, has been to 5 grand finals, has won 2 of them. And he knows what it takes to win. And he's very pragmatic around his view of the team, but you can see he's like understated, but he's pretty excited about what he's seeing, and their ability to, we can score a lot of points. The big thing that we've got to do is stop that, and he's got the IP and the work that they've done to actually manifest that into a really defensively strong outfit, I think is right in front of us. So that'll be super exciting. If we see that characteristic change in this group of young players, then we've got a very different set of outcomes in front of us over the next 3 seasons.
So what I sort of see for both businesses is some really exciting stuff, and it's really hold my beer, watch this space. Like we're both in the same phase, of the next move that we make. Yeah. And again, I'm not sitting here and guaranteeing what we're doing. And neither are yourself, but we're going to give it a red hot crack.
That's right.
And I think that's where the synergies lie. We've both spoken the same language from the start, even though I wasn't an NRL supporter. Yeah. I'm a cross coder, but look, I'm invested in yourself, obviously the Titans, and really, really looking forward to what they can do this year for sure, and vice versa. Hope you're just as excited.
I'm just as excited. I think the thing that is the really rewarding thing for me though is people like yourself who've been with us through the journey, and you watch the ebb and flow of organisations as they grow, and then you reshape and you go again, and I think just the ability to actually be on the starting blocks to run into the next phase together for me is hugely rewarding personally. So when we get to a few games this year and potentially run into you at a big show in America, and we watch these two businesses go, just regardless of all the rest of it, that is very cool.
I think so.
That's
part of the journey.
A lot of grind.
Yeah, part of the journey.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks so much, Steve.
My
really
pleasure,
appreciate having a chat.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Always look forward to it.
Yeah, it's been great chatting to you, mate.
Yeah, likewise.
Good on you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Guys.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of One Great Conversation, brought to you by Lauxes Grates. We hope you gained some valuable insights that you can implement into your personal and professional life. Please share this episode with others who you think may be interested in this topic. If there's something you'd like covered in future episodes, drop us a line in the comment section or send us a message on social media. To stay up to date with new episodes and to help support One Great Conversation, please subscribe or follow us on your favourite streaming platform.